In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to knit with straight needles or circular needles these little pants. I made them to match the little sweater that I showed you already in my channel, the Laurel cardigan. In the information box, I'll go ahead and leave you the link to that tutorial. Now, these little pants are for 3 to 6 months, but you can easily make them smaller or bigger from 0 to 3 months and up to 12 to 24 months. In the information box, I'll go ahead and leave you some information on how you can easily make them smaller or bigger, so be sure to check that out. And as always, if you prefer a written pattern, check out my Etsy shop. I'll leave the link to my Etsy shop up here on the right hand side and in the information box below. I'll leave you the link to the little cardigan since that is already available. Now, to make these little pants, this is the yarn that I used. This is a medium number 4 yarn. For the 3 to 6 month size, you're going to need a total of 110 grams. For the 0 to 3 month size, which are these here, I used a total of 87 grams. Depending on the size that you make, you may need less or more. Now stay tuned. In another tutorial, I'll show you how to make the matching little hat. Okay, let's get started. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the notifications bell. And if you like this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Okay, to make these baby pants, I'll be using these 5mm circular knitting needles. You can also use straight needles. I'm going to be using these circular needles. These are 24-inch, but I'm going to be using them as straight needles. Now, the yarn that I'm using is this medium number 4 yarn. You can also use any Aran weight or 10 ply. At the beginning of the video, I showed you the yarn that I'm using, and I told you how much yarn we're going to need for the size that we're making here in this tutorial, which is for 3 to 6 month size. And these are the pants that we're going to make. I made them to match the Laurel Baby cardigan. In the information box, I'll go ahead and leave you the link. This is the one that I did for the tutorial. This is for 3 to 6 months, so I'm making these baby pants to match the 3 to 6 months baby sweater. This one here is for 0 to 3 months along with the baby pants. So here, to begin, we need to cast on a total of 34 stitches. To make the baby pants, we're going to start from the bottom up. We're going to make 2 legs, and then we're going to join the legs, and we're going to cast on 4 stitches here in the center and then continue with the body. This is the back side. Once the baby pants are done, we're going to join here the back side, and then we're going to join here the legs. So first we're going to start with the legs here, and we're going to make the cuff, and we're going to make 2 exact pieces. So I'm going to show you here what we need to do. To begin here, the first thing that we need to do is we need to cast on our stitches. I'm going to show you how to cast on your stitches using the long tail cast on method. If you prefer to use any other method, then go ahead and do so. I happen to like this cast on method best. So here we're going to measure the yarn first. So I'm going to wrap the yarn around 10 times. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here I have enough yarn for about 10 stitches. I'm going to double it up. I have enough for about 20. Double it up again. I have enough for about 30. We need to cast on 34. So I'm going to double it up again, and I have enough for about 40 stitches. Add a little bit more. It's best to have some left over than to have to repeat this here. So go ahead and make a slip knot. Now for the second leg, you're going to have to leave a pretty long tail. I'd say about 36 inches extra here, so that when we finish the baby pants, you're going to have a tail end here on this side, and then we're going to use that tail end to seam the legs all around this part here. So for the second leg, go ahead and leave about 36 inches more, so you can go ahead and do that. For the first leg, you don't have to do that. We only need to do it for the second leg. So here I'm making the first leg, so I don't need to add extra yarn here. So now just insert your needle through this loop that you made, and we're going to open up the yarn like this, and we're going to go from left to right, and we're going to grab a loop like this. Make sure that these stitches are nice and loose so that you don't have any problems with the first row. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on until you have 34 stitches. I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished casting on my stitches. I have 34 stitches. I'm going to also tell you the number of stitches that you need if you want to make it for 0 to 3 month size. For the 0 to 3 month size, I went ahead and cast on 30 stitches. So here what you need to do is just tie a knot here at the end. so that that last stitch does not open up too much. So tie a knot here at the end. Now I have 34 stitches for the 3 to 6 month size. If you're making it for 0 to 3 months, then go ahead and cast on 30 stitches. So here, to continue with the 3 to 6 month size and the 0 to 3 month size, this part here is the same. You're going to knit the first stitch, and then you're going to knit 2. This is for the cuff for the bottom of the leg. Now purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2. And this is how you're going to continue to the end of this row. There I have the last 3 stitches. I'm going to purl 2, and then always knit the last stitch. And here is row 1 for the bottom of the leg. Now turn for row 2. I'm going to slip the first stitch purlwise, and now I'm going to knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, and so on to the end of this second row. I have the last 3 stitches, purl 2, and then knit the last stitch always for the bottom of the leg. Now turn for row 3. Now I'm going to place a stitch marker to mark the front side of the legs. So from here on, this is going to be the front, and this is going to be the wrong side. So to continue with row 3, slip the first stitch purlwise, then knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, and so on. From here on, you're just going to repeat row 2 until we have completed a total of 6 rows for the bottom of the leg. This part, this is what we're making right now. 6 rows of knit 2, purl 2. So go ahead and continue and finish this part, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. For the 0 to 3 month size, you're going to do the exact same thing, 6 rows, but you should only have 30 stitches. I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I finished making these 6 rows for the bottom of the leg. Now this completes the bottom part of the leg. If you're making it for 0 to 3 months, you're going to do the exact same thing, 6 rows. Now we're going to continue and make the leg. So this part here, for the 0 to 3 month size, you should only have 30 stitches. So now what we're going to do is we're going to continue with the garter stitch. For the 0 to 3 months and the 3 to 6 months, this part here is the same. The only difference is the number of stitches. For the 3 to 6 months, I have 34 stitches. So here to begin row 1 of the leg, I'm going to slip the first stitch here purlwise, but only for this first row, and then I'm just going to knit across like this. So knit all of your stitches, make sure that you're on the right side. We have a stitch marker here that's telling us that that is the right side, so this here is the wrong side. Now the last stitch here at the end of the first row of the leg, go ahead and slip knitwise. Now turn for row 2. This is the wrong side. And here we're going to knit across, including the first stitch. That's why I slipped the last stitch here at the end. You don't have to do it, but it gives it a nicer finish, and the stitches are more defined here along the edge. So from here on, row 2 is what we're going to repeat like this. So knit across. This is the wrong side. Knit the last stitch, turn for row 3, and then repeat the same thing. Knit across. And this is how we're going to continue for the leg. Just knit every stitch for every row, including the first and the last stitch. Now, for the 0 to 3 month size, you're going to do a total of 32 rows. This part here. For the 3 to 6 month size, we're going to do about 44 rows. Continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many rows I'm going to do. It all depends on the measurement that I get here for this part. I finished making the first leg. I did a total of 44 rows, and it's measuring from the top here to the bottom. It's measuring 17 centimeters, which is about 6.75 inches. For the 0 to 3 month size, like I said, you're going to do a total of 32 rows for this part, and it should measure from the top to the bottom here of the leg. It should be measuring about 12.5 centimeters, which is about 5 inches. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to repeat the same thing for the second leg. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut my yarn. Go ahead and leave a small tail here. And now you're going to transfer these stitches to double pointed needles. I'm going to use double pointed needles, so here I'm just going to go ahead and remove these stitches and transfer them to the double pointed needles. You can also just use a piece of yarn and just keep them on hold until we're ready to join with the second leg. There, I transfer all of the stitches here. I have a total of 34. Now go ahead and just keep this on the side, and we're now going to cast on for the second leg. So here to begin, I'm going to cast on 34 stitches. I'm going to use the long tail cast on method again. It's exactly how we did the first leg. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have enough for about 10 stitches. Now double it up. I have enough for about 20. Double it up again, enough for about 30. And double it up again, I have enough for about 40 stitches. Now on top of this yarn that we just measured, go ahead and add an extra 36 inches, which is about 3 feet. This is so that we can seam the legs once they're done, and then go ahead and make a slip knot after measuring the extra 36 inches. This is the yarn we measured plus some so that we can seam the legs. And now go ahead and insert your needle through this loop here and open up the yarn and cast on 34 stitches. That's 2, 3, 34. Now tie a knot here at the end. Now this yarn here we're going to leave until we finish the legs. Now we're going to continue and work the second leg exactly how I did the first leg. So here to begin, you're going to knit the first stitch, but only for this first row, and then knit 2. Then purl 2. Knit 2. Purl 2. And so on to the end of this row. Now, after you finish this row, you're just going to continue and do exactly the same thing we did for the first leg. You're going to do this part. So you can rewind the tutorial to this part where we did 6 rows of knit 2, purl 2. Always remember to slip the first stitch after the first row, and the last stitch you always knit. It's exactly the same thing we did here for the first leg. So after you finish these 6 rows, you're going to continue and make 44 rows. For the 0 to 3 months, you're going to cast on 30 stitches and then make this part here exactly in the same way, 6 rows. And then for this part, you're going to do a total of 32 rows. That's for 0 to 3 months. So go ahead and finish the second leg. Make it exactly in the same way how we did the first leg. And then I'll come back and show you how we're going to join the legs and continue with the rest of the baby pants. Another thing that I almost forgot, make sure to place a stitch marker here on this side to mark the front side of the baby pants, just like we did with the first leg. So don't forget to do that. That way we know when we join the legs, we're going to be working on the right side of both legs. So continue to finish the second leg, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I finished making the second leg. I did it exactly in the same way how I showed you with the first leg. The only difference is that here on this side, I have this tail end that's long enough for us to seam the legs once the pants are done. I did a total of 6 rows here where I knit 2, purl 2, and then I did a total of 44 rows here in garter stitch. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to join the legs. So this is the second leg. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to place a stitch marker to mark the last 2 rows that I did in garter stitch. This is going to help us once we seam the pants. That way we know where the legs start. So here on both sides, go ahead and place a stitch marker for both legs. So here to continue, what we're going to do is I'm going to knit across these 34 stitches. I'm going to add 4 stitches here, and then I'm going to join the second leg, knit 34 stitches, and then I'm going to add 2 stitches here at the end. So let's get started with this first row of the body. So here, if you're doing this for 0 to 3 months, you're going to do the exact same thing. So here to begin, I'm going to just knit across. I have 34 stitches. Now, before we join with the first leg, I'm going to add 4 extra stitches here between the legs. For the 0 to 3 month size, it's the same. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to wrap it around my thumb and then insert the needle through and pull a loop through. I'm going to repeat this until I have 4 extra stitches. You can use any method of your choice. I'm not sure what the name of this method is, but I like how this looks once this part here is done, and it makes it easier to knit across in the next row. Wrap the yarn around your thumb, insert the needle, and grab a loop. Now to join with the second leg after adding these extra 4 stitches, what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit with both the tail end of the first leg and the main yarn. This is just to hide the ends here and to make sure that this has a nicer finish. So go ahead and knit the first 3 or 4 stitches using both the tail end and the main yarn. After this, we're going to continue and just knit across with the main yarn. I knit across the 34 stitches for the second leg. Now here at the end, I'm going to add 2 extra stitches. Wrap the yarn around your thumb, insert the needle, and grab a loop. That's 1. 2. I have 2 extra stitches here. Now, at the end of this first row of the body of the pants, I have a total of 74 stitches. I knit 34 across, I added 4 stitches, then I knit 34 across, I added 2 extra stitches here at the end of the row. Turn for row 2, it's going to be worked on the wrong side. So here to begin row 2, you're just going to knit across like this. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mark these 2 stitches. Again, I like to do this because when you start to seam the pants, these stitches here tend to get lost, and I don't want that to happen. I want to make sure I account for these 2 stitches when I'm seaming the pants. For now, all you need to do is just knit across. I will meet you here at the end of the second row to show you how we're going to finish this second row. I'm here at the end of row 2. For the body, this is the wrong side. Knit the last stitch. Now here at the end of the row, I'm going to go ahead and add 2 extra stitches. Wrap the yarn around your thumb, insert the needle, and grab a loop. Again, 2. There. I added 2 extra stitches at the end of row 2, so now I have 76 stitches. Now turn. So here for row 3, all you're going to do is just knit across. At the end of this row, you're going to have 76 stitches. Now I'm going to place a stitch marker to mark these 2 stitches here. So just place a stitch marker there at the end of the second row. And now just continue to the end of this third row. I will meet you there to show you what we need to do next. And again, here all we do is just knit across. I finished row 3. I just knit across. Now turned for row 4. Row 4 is being worked on the wrong side. From here on, we're just going to repeat row 3 where you just knit across. We're going to continue with the garter stitch here. And we're going to do this for a total of 48 rows for the 3 to 6 month size. Now for the 0 to 3 month size, you're going to do a total of 38 rows. So continue, finish this part, make 48 rows for the 3 to 6 month size, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished making this part. I have done a total of 48 rows. From here up to here, there's 48 rows. Now we're going to start on the waistband. For the waistband, we're going to do it like this, where we knit 1, purl 1. So to begin here, for the 0 to 3 month size, you should have 38 rows, and this part here is the same. So here to begin, with this first stitch here, I'm just going to slip the first stitch from here on. Then I'm going to knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. And I'm going to continue like this to the end of this first row of the waistband. I'm here at the end of row 1 of the waistband. In this row, I slipped the first stitch purlwise, then I just knit 1, purl 1 across. I'm here at the end. These are my last 2 stitches. So here at the end, I'm going to purl 1, then knit the last stitch. Now turn for row 2. For row 2, again, slip the first stitch purlwise, and then knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. It's the same thing we did in the first row. Continue like this. Let's finish this part. For the waistband, I'm going to do about 10, 11 rows. Continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many rows I'm going to do. For the 0 to 3 month size, I did 10 rows. For this one, I'm thinking 10 or 12. It has to be an even number. I'll let you know how many rows I'll do here. It all depends on the measurement that I get. This part here needs to measure about 8 inches from the top of the waist to the crotch area for the 3 to 6 month size. So continue watching. I'll let you know how many rows I'll do. So continue like this, where you just knit one, purl one. Remember to always slip the first stitch purlwise, turn, and then repeat the same thing. I'll meet you at the end of that row. I finished making the waistband. I did a total of 10 rows. In the next row, we're going to cast off our stitches. I have the measurement that I need. It's measuring from the crotch here to the top of the waistband. It's measuring 20 centimeters, which is about 8 inches. For the 0 to 3 month size, I also did 10 rows here. So now I'm going to go ahead and cast off. So to begin here, I'm going to slip the first stitch, then I'm going to knit one, pass this stitch over the first, purl the next stitch, pass this stitch over the first stitch, knit the next, bring the stitch over, purl the next, bring the next stitch over, and so on. Continue and finish this last row. I finished casting off my stitches. Now here at the end, cut your yarn, leaving a very long tail, because we're going to use this to close the back of the baby pants. So now just pass this yarn through this last loop, and now we're going to close the back side, and then we're going to close the legs. So with this tail end here, we're going to start here at the top of the waistband with a yarn needle. We're going to join here with the first stitch right here. Oops. Like this. Now go through the first stitch here on this side, and now it's joined, and that's how it looks. Now we're going to go here along this part of the waistband. Along the very edge, we have the stitch that we slipped. So now you're going to insert the needle like this between 2 stitches. Go on this side and repeat the same thing. Make sure that these rows align with the opposite side, like this. Now go into the next. Now this part is done. You just pull on this tail end here to even out the stitches, and that's how it looks. Perfect. Now we're going to continue with this part here, the garter stitch. Now the next row is this here. So my yarn is on this side. I'm going to go right here through this stitch, and then I'm going to go on this side through this stitch like this. Now we have the next row. Make sure that it aligns with the opposite side. So go through this stitch along the very edge and through this stitch along the very edge. Next stitch, or next row, same thing. The important thing here is that you're consistent. Make sure that you're always inserting your needle through the same stitch on opposite sides. So here's the next one. Here's the next stitch, and so on. I'm going to do this until I come here. So I will meet you right here to show you how we're going to finish this part and then continue with this tail end and close the legs. I finished joining the back side. This is how it looks. Make sure you pull on your yarn here a little bit so that this part here is nice and stretchy. Now I'm going to finish here at the end. Just wanted to show you this part. I have the last row where I added the stitch markers here as we increase the 2 stitches on either end. So I'm just going to go through this stitch here, and I'm going to go through this stitch here through the center. You can remove the stitch markers, we don't need them anymore. There. Now I'm going to go through the first stitch again here on this side, and now I'm just going to go through the wrong side and hide this tail end. I'm going to tie a small knot here along the back side here. You can tie a knot. I'm going to hide a little bit of this tail end here along the back. There. And then cut my yarn. And this part is done. It's joined, and that's how it looks. There. That looks pretty good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to this leg. This is also from the right side. I have that long tail end we left when we started the second leg. This is the front side. This is the second leg. We're going to join the cuffs here. Find the first stitch. And then go back through this stitch here, and it's joined. Same thing here, we're going to find the very edge stitch along this side. Along the very edge, right here. And on the opposite side, same thing. Now this part is done. That's how it looks. There's that seam. And now we're going to do the same thing we did for this part here. We have the garter stitch. Make sure that these rows here align with the opposite side. I have this next stitch. And then I have this one here. Let's see. The next row. And I'm going to do this until I come here, right where I have the stitch markers. So I will meet you right here and then show you how we're going to join the stitches in the center. There's 4 stitches on this side, and there's now 4 stitches here on this side. So I will meet you right here to show you how we're going to do that part. I finished joining the first leg. This is how it looks now. I'm right about here where I have the stitch markers, so I'm going to go ahead and remove these stitch markers here. I'm going to now join the 4 stitches that are right here, right in the crotch area. So I'm going to make one last stitch right here. Now, there is no right or wrong way of doing this part here. The important thing is that you join these 4 stitches. I'm going to do it like this. There's 4 stitches. Let's see how this looks. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Now I have the stitch marker here and the stitch marker here. So these 2 stitches here should match, but if you notice there's a gap here, I'm going to make one more stitch right here. Right there. And now I'm going to remove these stitch markers. This is where the leg begins. And I'm going to repeat the same thing. Go along the edge of that stitch and along the edge of this stitch here. The next row is this stitch here. Now the important thing here is that your rows match on the opposite side. And that way you're going to get a nicer finish. So continue, finish the second leg. I'm going to go ahead and do this part, and then I'll come back and show you the finished baby pants and then give you the finished measurements. I finished closing the second leg, and this is how it looks. The baby pants are done. This is the back side, and here is the seam here for the legs, and this is the front of the baby pants. So now let me give you the finished measurements. The total length from the top of the waist to the end here of the leg, it's measuring about 37 centimeters, which is about 14.5 inches. Leg length from the crotch here to the end of the leg, it's measuring about 17 centimeters, which is about 6.75 inches. From the top of the waist to the crotch here, it's measuring about 20 centimeters, which is about 8 inches. Now the leg width, just the top, it's measuring about 10.5 centimeters, which is about 4 inches. Now the waist, this part here, just the top, it's measuring about 21 centimeters, which is about 8.25 inches. Now the hip, just the top, it's measuring about 24.5 centimeters, which is about 9.5 inches. So based on these measurements, these little pants are for baby boys and girls between 3 and 6 months old. And I made them to match the Laurel baby sweater. In the information box, I'll go ahead and leave you the link to that tutorial, and stay tuned for the matching little hat. I'll go ahead and show you that in another tutorial. Now for these baby pants, you can make these pants from 0 to 3 months and up to 12 to 24 months. In the information box, I'll go ahead and leave you the stitch count and number of rows that you need to make for each one of those sizes. This is the 0 to 3 month size. For these here, I used a total of 87 grams of yarn. For the 3 to 6 month size, you're going to need a total of 110 grams. Make sure to look in the information box. I'll go ahead and leave all of the details, all of the information that you need on how to make your baby pants from 0 to 3 months and up to 12 to 24 months. I'll give you the number of rows and then the stitch count for each one of the sizes. So make sure to look there. And as always, if you prefer a written pattern, check out my Etsy shop. I'll leave the link to my Etsy shop up here on the right hand side and in the information box below. Okay, so this was today's tutorial. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.